Welcome to Coach's Corner. I'm your host, Sean Anderson, and on this edition of Coach's Corner, we're going to be talking with the head coach of the Ponca City High School boys basketball team, Coach Keenan Curry. And coming up just a little bit later, Jason Levitt, the head coach of the Ponca City wrestling team, on this edition of Coach's Corner. And we start with the High boys head basketball coach. Coach Curry is with us, and Coach, welcome to Coach's Corner, the first of 2018.
It's great to be here, Sean. It's been a great start of the year, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Now, as we record this edition of Coach's Corner, it is a Monday, so you're watching this after the team travels to Guthrie, and that trip will take place Tuesday evening, and tip-off for the girls will be 6:30. The boys game immediately after. And Coach Curry, when you're traveling down to Guthrie, what are you looking for out of that team?
Well, in Guthrie, we've been watching a lot of film the last couple of days, and one thing about Guthrie is they're kind of similar to us. They're in 1-6 right now. They've played some really good talent. But one thing about them that really stuck out with them is they play extremely hard. You know, they're tough. That coach does a great job with their kids. So it'll be a dog fight. It won't be any cats, or it'll be a straight dog fight. So it should be fun. Our guys are ready for it.
Absolutely. The Wildcats in a dog fight in Guthrie. And of course, you're watching this now. That game has happened in Guthrie. And let's talk about Robson Fieldhouse, because you have a couple of opportunities to watch the Wildcats, support the Wildcats in Robson. And of course, a big home crowd is always a plus. Before we talk about the competition coming up with Carl Albert and Sand Springs, so when you talk about competition, we're talking about some of the top teams in the states and their classes. And so we'll talk about that. But first, let's talk about the importance of getting the home crowd really out there. I mean, your athletes are working their tails off, not only on the court and practice and in games, but in the classroom as well.
For sure.
Well, that kind of support when people show up at Robson is really a reward, isn't it?
Yes, we had the great support and turnout at the first home game against Collinsville before the break, and the guys really played up to that experience and crowd. It's just a great atmosphere. One of the best I've been in as far as high school, going and watching high schools and whatnot. One of the best I've ever been in.
Wow, that's just incredible. That says a lot. And you're a part of that. Of course, the Robson Rowdies, they keep it fun. They absolutely do. And you can get into Robson Fieldhouse. Thursday, Carl Albert comes to town. They are second in 5A. This is not going to be an easy game for the Wildcats. And tell us, as far as a coach, what do you see in this game?
Big time talent with Cal Albert. They arguably have probably one of the better players in the state. I mean, hands down, from 5A to 6A. You know, you name it. He's one of the better players in the state. Have another player as well. So they're very talented. It'll be another dogfight. We're trying to teach our guys how to play extremely hard every possession. And I think over this first 10 games, they've learned how to play at a very high level as far as competing and things like that. So now we're trying to move to the next step of now executing on both ends of the floor. So those are things we'll be looking at as a staff against Cal Albert, a very good team that will have to be pretty perfect to play against them. But my guys are ready for it. They're talking really good and talking about the right stuff, have the right attitude right now. That's one thing I was kind of, thinking about and worried about over the Christmas break, where our guys come back with the right mindset, and I'm very pleased with where they're at mentally.
As a coach, how much of the coaching, and I'm sure it's got to be a balance, but how much of it is X's and O's and fundamentals, and then the psychological elements of it, the having working and coaching their perspective, like you said, to stay in the game, the whole game, and every possession. How do you find that balance, and what is that ratio?
Well, the biggest thing with our group is different with, I've known it to be different with different teams who you have, what type of leaders you have on your basketball team, what type of players, personnel. And with our group, we have a young group, very unexperienced group. Chaston Maskey is the only returning varsity guy. So we have 2 freshmen starting, Anthony Gazaway, Justin Thompson. So with us, it's more about teaching them how to play hard and fighting and being positive and bringing that, competitive mindset rather than the X and O's. We're trying to do some things differently to make it easier for them, so they don't have to think as much and make it as simple as possible for them. But at the end of the day, it's all about, just coming out to Jimmy and Joe's and not the X's and O's. So.
Yeah, and they're working hard, and certainly not to take away from the effort of these athletes. They're putting it out there. As a coach, the phrase "building year" does that apply? I mean, you're building a team.
Yeah, it does. I think the biggest thing with us is we talk about every day. Bring your hard hat. Bring that hard hat mentality. Bring that work mentality. It's going to be a process. I said it from the start. Kind of what guys are talking about right now, and it's really amazing. You hear your young freshmen, your sophomores talking the stuff that we talk about every day. And we were in the ADA tournament this past weekend, and in the second game against McAllister, they're telling me, "Coach, hey, this is process, Coach. This is what we've been practicing for." So when they're telling me that in the game, it really settles me down as a coach. But it really tells you that they're listening, they're working, and at some point we're going to get there. So it's a process.
Sand Springs, they're going to be in Robson, so we're talking about 2 back-to-back home games. Robson Fieldhouse Thursday with Carl Albert, and then turn right around Friday with a team that's ranked 8th and 6A in the state, Sand Springs, and that's another tough game. I mean, do you just really embrace this level of competition? I mean, is this?
Oh yeah, we have to. I mean, to beat the best, we got to play the best.
Yeah.
And you see it all the time in sports.
Sure.
If you want to beat them, you got to play them. And for our guys, I think just like Guthrie and other teams we've played throughout the year, to play those teams and playing Sand Springs and Cal Albert, we really get a toughness.
Sure.
And really find out where we're at mentally. And I think when we played Sand Springs the first game of the year, we were kind of shell-shocked and kind of, wide-eyed. But I think tomorrow or Friday will be better as far as competing, knowing just what to bring to the table. We talk about it every day. We don't talk about wins or losses. We think it's too much pressure on the guys to think about wins and losses. But if you bring your A game as far as your effort, your attitude, then we'll see where we land from there.
Yeah, we'll talk about academics here. I know every week you get an eligibility list.
Yeah.
It's got to make you proud when you look at that and you realize you don't have a lot of issues in that area.
All my guys are doing a great job. Had some guys in the past that have not done a great job, and they're really, really focused. I had one kid come to me the other day and say, "Coach, without basketball, without the coaching staff, without these players, my teammates, I probably wouldn't, take school as serious as I am now." So I'm really enjoying this group, and what they bring, and they put a smile on my face every day. So I'm pleased.
Yeah. Coach Curry, the head coach of the Ponca City boys basketball team here, and a young team, and every team, whether it's a young team or a team full of returning varsity players, which is not the case for the Bohai basketball team, but every team, regardless, leaders step up, and you watch leaders emerge, and sometimes it's surprising because sometimes it'll be a younger player. Can you spotlight a couple of players? I know we don't have time to spotlight them all, but a couple.
We have a few that are really, some that I thought were going to be those guys that kind of lead us. Some that I didn't know. Anthony Gazaway as a freshman, he's in the ADA tournament, he had 2 really, really good games. 14 point game against McAllister, 21-point game against Ada. Chaz Samaski, our returning leading point guard from last year. He's developing leadership roles and trying to lead these young guys. And we're talking every day, before and after practice, and texting a lot. And Chase Madsen, one I'm really I wasn't I didn't know much about him. He's a guy that moved back to Ponca. Didn't know much about him. Didn't have him over the summer, but I mean, in regards to everything we want as a Wildcat basketball, he's everything we want. I mean, tough, about the right stuff, talks about the right stuff. Academically, he's just everything we want in a basketball player for the Wildcat basketball. So we got some young guys that I'm really happy about and pleased and excited for. And, our older guys are doing a great job leading them too. So it's a good group.
Very good. Again, Robson Fieldhouse, Thursday night with Carl Albert, and Friday at Sand Springs. Tip times, approximate?
5 o'clock JV game, 8 o'clock or right after girls varsity game, boys varsity.
All right, sounds good. And we hope you get out there and fill Robson Fieldhouse, and let's make it rowdy and let's have a great time with Ponca City Wildcat basketball. And Coach Keenan Curry, our special guest on the very first Coach's Corner of the year. Coach, thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing more and visiting more on Coach's Corner with Coach Curry as the season progresses. And stay close. Coming up, the head wrestling coach, Mr. Jason Levitt, will be right here on this edition of Coach's Corner.